Good morning. Good morning, Commune Education Revolutionaries. I'm Susan May, and I'm here today to talk about a really important topic. This is something that affects all of us. It affects neurotypical people, it affects autistic people, it affects people with apraxia that have other disabilities, and that is toileting. And there's a reason I'm using that word toileting that we're going to talk about. But I just want to set this up by, yes, acknowledging the importance of this. And this is something that for us neurotypical people, humans, we often take toileting for granted because it's just something we do. But once we have experience with someone that struggles with this, right? Or maybe we get to a point in our life when we're older and we struggle with it again, it becomes clear just how important this is. Also, I want to recognize the importance of respecting our loved ones' privacy and their dignity. And this can be a really hard line to navigate. I see a lot of parents and caregivers of children or adults with special needs, and I'm just gonna say sometimes we overshare, and this kind of goes along with presuming competence. And once we begin to presume competence and understand that our loved ones are like 100% in there, their brains are cognitively intact. They experience feelings and emotions just like we do: embarrassment, shame, guilt, frustration. Once we start to grasp that, then it becomes really clear, like, would you want someone talking online publicly about your struggles with using the bathroom? The answer is probably not. And so this is something that I'm learning to navigate with my son, Carter. He's our non-speaker. His birthday is in, gosh, it's in less than a week. His birthday is a week from yesterday. Hi, Marnina. And so the reason I do share, even though I want to respect his dignity and his privacy, is that there's an unfortunate consequence when we put protecting our children's privacy above the needs of our family, and that's their needs and our needs. Because when we protect them exclusively and don't share and don't connect with others, this leads to parents and families feeling like they're alone, and that is not good either. Okay, so we are going to walk this line together and navigate this together. Okay, so let's dive in. The first thing I'm going to do is share a book review of this book. This is the book that got us started on our toileting journey. And again, I told you I would tell you why I'm using that word toileting. Personally, potty training to me brings up images of my babies and my toddlers, maybe preschool age. I did potty training with my neurotypical kids. But as we know, for our children or our adult loved ones with apraxia, this issue is one that can continue into, the older elementary school years, into preteen, into teens, even into adulthood. It's a really hard skill. And so to me, toileting is a lot more respectful. It doesn't sound like I'm talking about a baby. So that's just one little shift. Language is really important because language affects how we think. It affects how other people think. Okay, so we're going to talk about toileting, even though the book says ready, set, potty, and I'm going to talk about that. So this is a book I bought just over 3 years ago. I bought it for myself for Christmas. And so let's see, 2023, it must have been the Christmas of 2022. I'm going to tell you what I really liked about this book first, okay? Because there's some really good things in here. Number one, good. What was good about it? It gave me a plan. It gave me things to do when I felt like I had no idea what to do with Carter. Okay, I had no idea where to start. When we started, Carter was 6 years old. He was almost to his seventh birthday. Um, and it had just been such a long time of using diapers and just kind of waiting for him to show signs that he was ready, and he would kind of sporadically show signs, right? And that's that consistently inconsistent part, right, that Dana Johnson taught me about, that we can't just rely on our kids, like our neurotypical kids, to show us when they're ready, because their bodies and their brains are different. um Michelle says she checked this out 3 times from the library, was able to skim it. Yeah, go ahead and buy it. I recommend buying it. Okay, so that's the good. It gave me things to do. It gave me a plan when I didn't know where to start. The great thing about this book, so there was good things, there was a great thing, is that it inspired me. It has stories in here of success, okay? And those stories made me feel super excited about the possibilities. It made me feel like this was possible, that I could do this with Carter. As far as I know, you're probably all wondering, well, what were those steps, Susan? I'm not going to get into those today, and I want you to stick around. If you're live now and you have to drop off, come back for the replay. If you're watching the replay, I'm going to talk about further ways that we can connect and collaborate to get more into, you might be looking for details, right? Like, what are my steps? What do I do? We're going to get to that. But today I want to lay a foundation, okay? Okay, so good. I had steps. Great. I felt inspired. And for that, I'm super, super grateful to this book, because this book is why we started, okay? I do recommend it as a resource for ideas to get you started. Now I want to talk about the limitations of this book, because I do have some pretty serious criticisms of the book and some concerns. Number one, I do think it's better for littles, okay? Look at it. It says ready, set, potty, okay? I consider when we started with Carter, he was still pretty little. He was 6, he was almost 7. Now you get up into the 8, 9, 10 age, there's still things in this book that are help. I think there are things in this book that will help at any age, like ideas. One of the ideas being, like, if you're using diapers or pull-ups, adult diapers, whatever you're using, one of the main things we did was get rid of them. And that's a really hard, scary step to take. And I'd love to get into that more. But that's a step that applies no matter what age your child or your adult loved one is. But other things were again more babyish, more childish, like drawing a picture of an apple on his underwear and telling him to keep it dry, right? And so for littles, a lot of these steps will be great. For when you're getting into that preteen, the teen, the adult age, I don't feel this book understands presuming competence. I also don't think it understands apraxia. There was a lot of emphasis on motivation in the book. Like, they kind of made it sound like, well, if you get the right reward, and we did use rewards for Carter. We used apples. He still loves apples. It kind of made it feel like, well, if you had the right reward, it will work for anyone. Okay? Now, I don't believe, especially as our children become older, as they get into those teen years and adult years, I don't believe motivation is the issue. Now that we understand apraxia, now that we understand the brain-body disconnect. And so I don't like that part of the book, because to me, our loved ones want to do this. And I've had open spellers tell me as much. This is a very hard issue for them, and they struggle with it emotionally. They know it's hard for their families. They have a lot of negative emotion tied up in it. Okay, and so those are my criticisms of the book. But you can still use the book to get started. You can still use it for tools. Okay, so I have a comment, and Marlene, I'm going to come back to it. Okay, I want to get through like my things. And yeah, he doesn't care for motivational items. I feel that. My kids have never been ones to be bribed at all. Okay, I want to talk about a couple myths. And it's really one myth. And this myth is for you parents. And I have spoken one-on-one with quite a few parents about this now, either through chat, through calls, Zoom calls. And I'm always surprised when I hear parents say things like this. Like, I hear parents saying that they think they waited too long, that they did something wrong. Um, they think that they're alone. And I'm going to explain why they get that idea. Why do they think they're alone? They think they're alone because there's an example in their life of an autistic individual that has successfully achieved toileting independence, or they're close to it, or they're moving towards it, and maybe that person is younger than their child. And so the parent feels guilty. They feel like, I missed a window, I missed a critical period, I waited too long, I da 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 da. Um, I want you to know, and the more important thing is that because of that, they think that they're alone. They think like all the other autism parents like did it right or something. And that is a myth I want to blow out of the water. You are not alone. I am shocked when I hear people not understanding how universal. I mean, it's not universal, okay? Because there are individuals that can toilet independently, that aren't in diapers, but it is a widespread. Let's use that word. It's a widespread challenge, and so you are not alone if this is something your loved one and your family struggles with. That's the myth that I want you to like just throw it away. You're not alone. You didn't do anything wrong. This is hard, okay? You didn't wait too long. You know, we all do the best we can with what we have in the moment. Like, once I started with Carter, I was like, oh shoot, I probably could have started sooner. But I didn't start sooner because I didn't know. There were things I didn't know. I didn't know about apraxia. I didn't know what to do, okay? All right, so let's move. So this is kind of getting into the truths now. The truth is that the challenges that our loved ones, that our children, our teens, our adults have, make this a very, very difficult skill. It's a hard process. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm not going to make you think, like in this book, part of the reason I got excited, there were so many stories where it was like days. Okay, the kid's going on the toilet. Weeks, they're 100%, or they're 100% with urinating, and then they just had to do it again for bowel movements, and they were able to do it, okay? That is an issue I have with this book, because I think it's really important for families to hear stories like ours where it's a much longer period of time, but we're still having success, okay? I want you to know there's hope. So until our kids have open communication, us parents and caregivers are largely guessing. We don't know what's going on inside their body, in their minds. We don't know how they feel things. That's the interoception piece. When you have to pee, you feel it, right? You start, if you're in the car, you start squeezing your legs together because you're like, I gotta go, right? Some of our kids don't have that. They don't know when they have to go. They don't feel it in their body. Can you imagine that? Or they don't feel it till the last minute, and then it's too late, okay? Then you throw in apraxia. They might feel it. They might know they have to go, and guess what? Their brain's saying, you got to go to the bathroom, and their body's not cooperating. Can you imagine that? You're stuck on the bed in your bedroom. Your mom's not there, and you want to go. You're telling your body, you have to go to the bathroom, and your body just refuses to move. You can't initiate. Can you imagine that? Okay? So we are largely guided by our intuition of knowing our children, because no one knows our children best. As little as we know, we still know them best. We're guessing, and we're using a lot of trial and error. Okay? I have a hunch that there is some truth in the idea that for some individuals, you notice I'm being really careful. I'm not saying all or always. For some individuals, it is better to start earlier. And here's why I say that. The reason why it can be better to start earlier when our kids are younger is because our brains are creating neural pathways, right? Our brains are becoming set in ways. And the older our loved one is when we start, the more patterns we have to interrupt. The more deeply those brain circuits are in place. Not only that, but they're going to have more experience. They're going to have more emotional baggage. They're going to have more shame, more guilt. It's just going to be harder, okay? But, and this is a huge but, That doesn't mean that starting when our autistic or our other able non-speakers, that doesn't mean they all need to start when they're 3 or 4 or 5 like neurotypical kids, because the other truth is that apraxia and interoception have different levels in every individual. Okay, I want you to hear this and hear this well. That's why there's so many open spellers telling us it didn't matter what their parents did, their body wouldn't cooperate. Okay, so that's why it's so important for us to let go of the guilt and the shame for both the child and for the parent. We're doing the best we can. Okay, so my hunch is that yes, I could have started earlier with Carter. My hunch is that, for whatever reason, some families start young, and their combination of factors, their child's challenges, their child's disposition, the parent's disposition, their level of calm and ability to focus on this one skill. Do you work a full-time job? Does your partner work a full-time job? Did you have other stresses in your life when your child was young and at the toileting age? Here's what I want you to understand. Every individual and family is a unique combination of factors. And that combination of factors is going to impact your ability to support your child in gaining this skill. So again, how severe is their apraxia? How much can they sense what's going inside their body? How much time do you have realistically to put into this at your stage in life? What about the support people in your life? The OTs, the speech therapists, the respite care providers. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a spell to communicate or a speller's method practitioner or an RPM practitioner in your life that really understands apraxia. What is the level of the support people in your life? What's their level of understanding of your child's challenges? Okay? And then think about your experience up, from the time your child was born until now. Every one of us has a different level of trauma, different traumas. Okay? Okay, so that's kind of the background. I know I'm talking a lot today. This is a big topic, okay? I want to share with you a little bit more about my family's experience while also not getting into the nitty-gritty, okay? And remember, if you want more concrete, I would love to share more concrete details of what worked for my family and for Carter in a way that's respectful, that's not blasting it publicly online, okay? And so that's why I want you to stick around, because I'm going to share with you an opportunity or opportunities to connect with me. Okay, so the truth is, for our family, I've already said this, it took way longer than any of the stories in this book, okay? It's been 3 years since we started. Now, I know for some of you that sounds discouraging. You're like, 3 years? And we're not done yet. He's not toilet independent. And I'm just praying right now, Carter, forgive me if that's embarrassing to you, but I think people need to hear the truth that for a lot of our kids and adults, this takes a lot longer than maybe we're expecting, than maybe we're hoping, than maybe people have told us and shared with us, okay? We're not talking days, weeks, or months. We're talking years. And yet, I am so glad that we started this journey. We've had so much success. He has made so much progress. And again, I'm not going to get into details about what that means, because this is a sensitive topic. But I just want you to know that we have made progress. In the beginning, I had a lot of fear. When we started, I was excited, but I was scared. I was scared, and this was the question in my mind. It's the fear of the unknown. How long will this last? Will it ever end, right? What if this lasts forever? That's what we're scared of, right? And so in a way, that fear, there was some truth to it. It's taken a lot longer than maybe I wanted to believe it would take back then. But mostly it's not how I imagined, because we had early success. Early success gave me hope, okay? And every one of those successes is like a miracle. And I just feel like, I know this is going to sound weird, but I feel kind of blessed every time Carter uses the toilet, which is many, many times every day. Like, I just look at families that take this for granted, and I'm so grateful that I understand the monumental importance of this, and that like he's doing it, he's getting better at it. I'm so proud of him for continuing to work on this. um the lows of our experience are that there were times when myself and his father would get so frustrated. I'm going to come back to that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to close with two thoughts. Okay? Two things, final thoughts about what you need to do. Number 1, you need to do something. Okay? When I think of what being alive is growing, right? Think about a plant. If a tree or a plant stops growing, they're not alive anymore. Growing means that we're changing. We don't grow taller as we reach adulthood, right? But we're always growing emotionally, we're growing spiritually, we're growing in knowledge, we're growing in our relationships, and that means something has to change. Okay? But a couple notes about what I mean when I say do something. It does not have to be directly related to toileting. Again, remember, if you get to open communication, your child's going to be a more active partner in this process. So if you're working on spell to communicate, guess what? You're helping yourself on that toileting journey. Not only that, those skills of gross motor, when you're pointing, every time we strengthen the brain-body connection in our apraxic children, is going to generalize to other skills. So anytime you're working on motor or spelling, you might be also helping your family on your toileting journey. So that's point A. When I say do something, it doesn't mean you're dragging your kid to the toilet every day, okay? Because the second point I want to make about doing something, point B, point A was it might not be directly related. Point B is doing something might mean stopping or taking a break if what you're doing is not working. Okay? And we all have to acknowledge there's points when something has become so difficult or frustrating and our mental state or our spiritual state is just not in the right place. Okay? Because this is the second big point. Number 1, do something, even if it means you're taking a break. Number 2, how you do something matters as much or even more than what you're doing. How you do it. Okay, so that's why over and over again our children tell us that our mental and emotional state is what matters for them. If we are frustrated, angry, guilty, if we feel shame, hopelessness, apathy, they're feeling it too. Okay? And I can tell you, I remember my low point on this journey. And it was about after a year and a half, and we had made tons of practice, but we kept having this roller coaster where we would think we're over the hump, he's got this, and then I don't have to tell you, it would be like, no, he doesn't got this. And then it would affect how I treated him. I am a very patient, loving mother. Most of you that know me in person know this. And I hated it when I yelled at him, when I grabbed him, when I acted frustrated and angry at him for something that I knew he wasn't in control of. And not only that, but then my state impacted him and made things worse. Okay? So I'm not telling you to stuff your feelings down. That doesn't work either. I'm not telling you compartmentalize them, to deny them. We need to acknowledge those hard feelings. We need to process them. We need to move through them. And then that's how we dissipate them. I cannot emphasize enough how important your mental state and how you approach this will affect. When I got to that low point and I was crying and I was talking to our S2C practitioner and I said, I realized it doesn't matter whether Carter achieves this milestone. What matters is how I treat him at the end of the day. I can, for the rest of my life, if I have to deal with whatever happens with how I want to say another thing right now. I'm very grateful that Carter is very healthy. And some of you might not have that experience. Your child might struggle with gut issues, right? That impacts your journey. If I have to deal with healthy Carter and his elimination needs, then that's okay. What's not okay is when I don't treat him in a respectful and loving manner. Okay, so when we need to constantly, and not, again, this is not about feeling guilty. Like, we are human. There will be points where we reach our frustration level, and we can't help it. That's when we need more support. That's when we need to take a break, whatever it might be. Okay. Again, I know that maybe you were coming here looking for, Susan, I want to know how to get to toilet independence, and I want to help you with that. And so that's why I want to have a Zoom call. It'll probably be kind of part webinar where I present things, share more of the experience we've had, because I will feel more comfortable with that on a private Zoom call. Um, and take your questions. For example, I had a question from someone. They emailed me about, like, what if you're stuck, like your child is doing really well with urination, going number 1 on the potty, peeing, and we're stuck with bowel movements. There's just, and I can speak to that because we've had a similar experience, and we've made progress. And so those are the kind of concrete questions we'll talk about. That is a common issue, by the way, achieving one or the other, and then needing to either wait or like kind of have new strategies for helping your child with the other. If you're interested in a Zoom call, please comment or message me or email me at Susan at homeschoolyournonspeaker.com. I don't have a date set, so the best way is to be in touch with me. I'll get you on my email list. I'm think February is a crazy month for me, so I'm thinking it will probably be in March. It will be free. It'll be a time for us to come together and get more specific, get more nitty gritty about these things. What are the steps? What works? How it's looked different in different families, and what your next step might be. So again, if you're interested in a Zoom call, comment below, message me, email me, Susan at homeschoolyournonspeaker.com. I can't wait to hear from you. And again, the more families I talk to, the more I realize this is just an area that people really need support in, and it's life changing. It's life changing when your kiddo starts making progress in this area. Okay, I'm going to just quickly. And Marnina, I see your question about trying to get rid of diapers. It did not work. And we will talk about that on the Zoom call, as well as the motivation factor. Okay, I've got a lot of people saying yes, and I'm going to either message you, or if you can message me and let me know if you're on my email list, or if you can email me your email, I'll add you to my email list. Again, I'm just so grateful to all of you for showing up and just being great parents, for like believing in your child all the time, for holding out hope for, when we can achieve these type of life changes, these type of milestones, it just opens more doors for our children, right? And it gives us more freedom in our lives. Like when our child makes progress in this area, it opens up respite care for us, right? Because like I know for us, this was a big block for us in wanting to get respite care, because we just felt like, oh gosh, how do we ask someone to deal with this, right? And again, doing this in a loving way, so our kids know that we understand this is so hard for them. They want to do it. They don't want this information blasted publicly. They're private challenges. And so join me next month in March for this Zoom call. I think that's it for now. Remember, your attitude is the foundation for this. Being open to trying something, being open to, if you try something and it doesn't work, well, believing there's something else that might work. Okay? I love you all, and I'm Susan May, and I'm inviting you to join the revolutions. Homeschool your non-speaker.